Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music, so someone will probably make one up for us. I don't want to name any. Rachel. I hope it's Rachel that does that for the podcast.
Do those waves look alright?
They look perfectly fine to me.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We can check it if you want.
No, it's fine.
No, it's
Hello
fine.
everyone, welcome back to the Tiny Room.
Good quality.
I am still sick. I'm your usual sick podcast host, Mick, and I am here with a picture of health. My co-host Ben. Say hello, Ben.
I do have a rather large zit on my face, so I look like I perhaps have the plague.
The plague
or the leprosy.
The Black Death.
Something like that. So I'm not quite a picture of health, but I'm certainly, compared to Michael, it's more of a before death and after death scenario.
I'm feeling pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
Let's be honest.
So he'll be a little timid today.
Speaking of things, Ben,
That are timid.
that could turn out pretty rough.
Oh yes.
What do you think of this Fox Marvel possible merger story?
It's big news.
Yeah.
Big news. Out of the ashes of an atrocious, ego-driven, maniacal TV series, also known as Inhumans,
Oh, okay.
has sprung forth a tiny beam of light that people have latched onto in hope and prosperity.
Yes.
It is the proposed Fox Marvel merger. Marvel, driven by a severe berating of their atrocious series Inhumans, has
Mostly by you.
is actually no, hang on, everybody says this shit. Has actually opened up talks with Fox and are hoping to buy back mutants.
I don't think they're hoping to buy back.
Well, I
mutants.
think they're hoping to merge them in a Sony Spider-Man.
No.
Wait, no,
No,
Oh, I have
they're
this
hoping
wrong.
to buy Fox.
What?
Yeah. Not necessarily all of Fox. Fox will retain their news and their sports and things like that.
I had the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah,
there
no,
completely.
they're hoping to buy Fox's entertainment division, essentially.
Oh, so they're burning down the house. They're just like, well, it's our show now, so that's how we get our rights back.
Essentially.
They can do that. They got that Disney money, man.
They are Disney. They've got that money. They've got that sweet, sweet Disney money.
Wow.
Yeah. There was
It's a
another...
lot more Shakespearean than I thought.
Yeah, there was another kind of big monopoly merger talk recently. Oh, it's Hasbro, the
This
toy
is
company.
your end of the world.
Yeah, Hasbro are planning to buy, apparently, Takara, their Japanese equivalent.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a big move.
that's a huge move. It worries me greatly.
I said that because I had no idea if it's a big move.
Oh, it is, yeah. See
From the
these-
look on your face.
See these guys here?
All the Autobots.
No, the Decepticons,
Decepticon.
actually, then. These are masterpiece figures. Takara make them. Takara generally in the past did the engineering, and Hasbro did the character designs and the
Fair.
stuff like that. But it looks like they might be merging, like Marvel and Fox.
Is that a problem?
No,
Why are you nervous about it?
Takara does the masterpiece line,
Yes, it's nice.
which is
nice line. They're very good.
kind of the strongest line.
that they've got.
Yeah, they're masterpieces essentially. They're the best ones.
It's in the name.
Yeah, they're the best Transformers.
And you fear perhaps Hasbro would dilute the quality of the work.
Now, having said that, Hasbro also make all the other Transformers you see, and the Marvel Legends there, and like
But there is a notable difference between all the other ones that you have and
the
that
masterpiece.
one.
Yeah, well,
And those
five there,
five.
and the ones downstairs.
Are they expensive?
They're reasonably.
Yeah.
They're not Hot Toys expensive.
Hot toys are bloody expensive.
Yeah, but they're definitely in the adult collectible price range, not the toy price range.
I saw something this week you'd enjoy.
Go on.
2049, Blade Runner 2049 did a special on YouTube about their miniature buildings.
Oh,
I thought you'd really enjoy the
I might watch
process
that.
behind. It's like a 6-minute video.
that sounds fun.
And it's very interesting. I'd thoroughly recommend it to anyone who's interested in models
or cinematography.
but how they build the entire set from scratch. And
Oh,
how
that's
the
great. I didn't
process
realise
and
there were practical
how
models.
they do. They're practical models. Yeah, they kept the original style of Blade Runner,
That's good.
and the LAPD building and all that are all modelled.
If Fox and Marvel do merge, do you think they should reintegrate the Xmen with the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I think they need a good excuse to give people superpowers again. They want to get on it.
Ah,
Nobody cares about the Inhumans.
No,
Nobody
they're-
gives. To be fair, chances are if you stopped Joe Average on the street,
Johnny One Eye.
Johnny One Eye on the street, and you said mutant or inhuman, which sounds more familiar,
Yeah.
He'd probably say mutant.
Well, mutant's also a real word term.
Yeah, but I think for other reasons they would probably associate it to, like, it's not one you hear thrown around.
No.
What a mutant. Like, you don't hear that thrown around.
Personally, I wouldn't mind if Hugh Jackman made an appearance.
Huge jacked man.
Huge, jacked, average-sized small man, as I call him.
In the 90s. Well, compared to you, Mick, everyone is average and small.
Got him.
Yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? If you just
one last go.
One last hurrah.
I'd
love to see him fight Ryan Reynolds' Pool.
Yeah, well, they can.
I'd like to see that.
They're both Fox anyway.
I'd love to see a little guest appearance. I'd love to see a little, oh Christ, Wade, something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Or I'd love to see him walk into a bar where Wade is in a bar fight and he goes, "Oh no," walks back out. I would like a quick little Xmen First Class cameo. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like I would. That's one.
No, you're allowed. That's fine.
It's in quotations.
Yeah.
Yes, I've still got my 3 Fs, 3 F bombs. Yeah. I have a lot of hope for this merger.
I don't. I'd prefer if they stayed separate.
All right.
I think the X-Men universe doesn't work in the context of the larger Marvel universe.
Well, you walked me into that one.
Because, I mean, you have the whole fear of mutants thing, but then everyone loves the Avengers. Although everyone doesn't love the Avengers anymore now. Everyone's afraid of them as well.
Well, there's Ben. Ben doesn't like the
No,
Avengers.
not the movie, the Avengers. Look, doesn't matter. Let's move on. Ben!
Yes.
We have had a tweet.
Have we?
We have.
Oh.
It's from the Rachel bot.
The Rachel bot.
Yes. And the Rachel bot says, "Hey, at Mick and Ben."
That's us.
That's us. That's how you find us on Twitter, at Mick and Ben. She said, you're both very intelligent and knowledgeable. Who's
she didn't say that.
She did, yeah, look, it's here. No. She said, "You're both very intelligent and knowledgeable. Who's that big spooky grey man in the Justice League trailers?"
Oh, glad you asked.
That's kind of your division, Ben.
Glad you asked,
Big
Rachel.
spooky men.
What even is Big Spooky Man in trailer?
Yes.
Or to give this quick little rundown, its actual name. What even is Steppenwolf? Well, Rachel, the big spooky grey man is Steppenwolf, as we just said.
Sweet.
He is
Segment finished.
he is a general to Darkseid. And he commands the legions of... No, not Darkseid, the Force. Darkseid is in Darkseid.
Darkseid.
Sayed.
Like a dark Seat.
Yes.
Like a navy blue Seat.
Yeah, like a dark, reasonably priced car. He is a new god. A new god of Apocalypse. Apocalypse. That's Apocalypse with a K and a P and an S at the end.
Oh, actual lips.
Y. Yeah, Apocalypse. Lipse.
Which is interesting because the Marvel...
Lips, sorry.
Because the Marvel character Apocalypse does have notably humorous lips.
He does. Ridiculously blue, large ones.
I am Apocalypse.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah. So he's one of those. He commands the legions of parademons, which are all the little flying guys you see in the trailer.
Parrot demons.
Demons. So like, semi-demons.
Oh, like paramilitaries.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
yes.
That's culturally insensitive.
Especially on this island.
Yeah. Go on, the paramilitaries.
He commands those legions, and he is the man sent in to do the dirty work by Darkseid before he takes over the planet.
Do you think Darkseid will be a bigger, spookier, greyer man?
He's to come in Justice League 2 or 3.
Okay.
I would, if it makes it that far. Yeah. I don't know if it will.
It probably will.
So, first of all,
yep.
Rachel, just to add to that confusion, I just said a bunch of words that have no meaning to you.
To the average man or woman on the street.
Because they're all part of the Fourth World, or the New Gods.
Yeah. You're not really helping.
Which are a line of kind of modernized neo-pantheon godlike characters in the DC line of comics. There are 2 worlds in this New Gods comic.
Right. What are they called?
The one is Apocalypse, as we have previously.
Apocalypse.
Is Apocalypse, as we previously mentioned, and the other is New Genesis.
I am New Genesis.
Yes, thank you very much. You sound oddly like David Bowie or something.
Oh,
there's a touch of Bowie about you in Labyrinth Bowie, Codpiece Bowie.
New Genesis does sound like a new wave 80s rock band.
It does. It's all kind of So, there's a reason that they sound so familiar. I'll get to that a little bit later. For now, there are some important characters in the New Gods series.
Right.
One of the key characters is Darkseid. He's the all-powerful kind of evil version, or the Satan of this particular line of comics. He's the Hades, I suppose.
Okay.
And then there's the Highfather. The Highfather is the Zeus, or the positive version.
The Odin?
The Odin, yeah, the All-Father character in this new mythology kind of end of things. You could look at New Genesis as paradise, and you could look at Apocalypse as hell. No problem. Apocalypse is all about...
I am Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is all about sadism, torture, the murder of innocence, the corruption of all value, etc., etc., etc.
Did Chris Claremont invent it?
No, he didn't.
Because he likes...
He does love an L... Hellfire Club and L latex and leather. There are themes of latex and leather running through Apocalypse. Lashina is one of the key henchwomen of Darkseid.
Oh,
she's
I love a henchwoman.
She's a whip-based, electric whip-based villainess.
Great.
She's very BDSM friendly.
If ever I assemble a squad to come after you, one of my henchwomen will be like that.
That's fine by me. He has a number of minions who do his bidding.
Who?
Darkseid has a number of minions. Steppenwolf is the one that's most pertinent to this particular discussion. He also has Desad. Granny Goodness.
The Marquis de Sade.
No, Desad. But it's interesting. He takes his name from that.
Oh.
But it's Desaad, and he is Chief Torturer.
Oh, good.
Or Head
Torturer.
Head Torturer. I don't. He tortures all parts of the body. But
very good.
Very good. He's a Head Torturer. We also have Granny Goodness.
Oh.
Who is in charge of his brainwashing program.
And she's a bad egg.
She does kind of the conditioning for... she does the conditioning of his soldiers. She turns them into mindless kind of soldiers and things like that. She is a parody of that traditional granny figure. She uses the language of grannies, where it's kindness and goodness, but it's very twisted.
Is she a busty, white-haired old lady?
She's tremendously busty.
Good.
Bulldoggish would be a term that could be used to describe her. So she has her, she has him. She has sons like Calabac.
I ain't no Calabac, son.
Yeah.
I ain't no Calabac, son.
Exactly.
A few gods went round this planet, not just going to...
It was a good attempt.
Look, if I wasn't sick, that would have been
attempt,
better.
But you would have been cast into the fire pits of Apocalypse.
Oh, no.
So those are some of the key figures over there on Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And then some of the key figures over on New Genesis are Orion, Scott Free, Big Barda, former denizens of Apocalypse, but I'm not going to spoil that. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Scott Free, what a pun.
Scott Free, what a pun. Yes, he got away scot-free. He's a master escape artist called Mr. Miracle. That's his stage name.
Very good.
There's... I can't even think of other ones. They're not as important as the Apocalypse films.
Bug, the Forager.
Bug, the Forager is around. Any others that you want to...
Mr. Miracle, Big Barda.
Yeah, we got them.
Orion, Scott Free.
There's the Fly fella.
The Highfather.
He's very annoying.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's all you need. Either way, that's who they are, and that's where Steppenwolf comes in. He is our first introduction to New Gods. Darkseid over the years became Superman's prime rival, I suppose.
Really?
When they got tired of
Lex Luthor.
They had Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor is not really his equal physically.
Right.
He wasn't really a challenge for a superpowered Kryptonian. And there's only so many times you could expose Superman to kryptonite to get one over on him physically.
Well, not in real life.
Not in real life, no. And there are lots of ways.
Just keep trying.
Yeah. But in comics, it was easier to have this superpowered, godlike figure, new god, who became Darkseid.
He sounds a lot like Thanos.
He's extremely like Thanos. Predates Thanos.
So he takes him out before the main date.
Yeah. He's the warm-up.
Yeah.
He's the warm-up. He's a fluffer. Oh, God.
Good. Excellent.
He predates Thanos. They are very similar in design.
Yeah, they're big grey men.
With chins, large chins.
Big chinny grey men.
And oval
Doesn't Darkseid not have a chin? Isn't that his defining feature?
It depends on who draws him.
Yeah.
But traditionally, yeah, he doesn't. There's a reason that he doesn't have a chin.
Oh? Poor genetics.
Poor genetics.
Lack of a beard.
Lack of a beard.
You're just repeating what I said.
Yeah, I'm just repeating what you said. But that's who it is, Rachel. That's what even is Steppenwolf. He is a general for the legions of Apocalypse.
When we went to see the film there the other day,
yes,
did you notice who played him?
It was noted Irishman, whose name I can't remember.
Kieran Hines.
Kieran Hines.
Good friend of Liam Neeson.
An Irishman in Space.
Another Irishman in Space. We must rev up for another Irishman in Space soon.
Yeah, sure. It's a popular.
Because they're coming along.
Popular little touch. There's 2 Irishmen in that film.
Yeah. At least.
Stacks O Irishman.
Yeah.
And Jason Momoa, who is a huge fan of Ireland.
Apparently.
Loves us.
Yeah.
Loves us.
Oh no, I've forgotten how to do the Jason Momoa voice.
Yeah!
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
That's all. Woo!
So who did that stuff that you were talking about?
Well, the lack of chin could be put down to a man called Jack Kirby.
Never heard of him, Ben.
You've never heard of Jack Kirby?
Well, I have, obviously.
Well, you have. But for those of you who are just tuning in, who even is Jack Kirby?
Ah, this is the whole thing. This is where we were going.
We're going to keep it going. Jack Kirby is the man who really revolutionized how you view comic books.
Me personally?
Not you personally, no. You, the listener. Sorry, I'm ignoring Mick because he's sick and feeble.
I'm a bit feeble.
But yeah, he is the man who has shaped most of the Marvel Universe.
Oh?
In a significant way, controversially at times.
Oh.
Not from him, but from other people who... Well, we'll get into that in a few minutes.
I think you're mispronouncing Stan Lee.
Controversially. Oh, nice. Very Swish. Good. Name of the podcast. Good. But yeah, he was an artist for Marvel.
Is he dead?
He's unfortunately dead. He died in 1994.
That was a while ago.
76. So he's dead quite a while. He was born in 1917, in case you want to do the maths.
Oh, he's 100.
Correct. He's 100 this year. Holy crap.
Well, he's dead. So he's not 100.
But it's his 100th anniversary of existence.
Yeah.
Or prominence, or whatever.
Living.
So, well, I didn't even realise that. Okay, that was well timed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're coming to the end of 2017.
Yeah,
so
I think he was born in August.
There was nothing done to signify that. That's unusual.
Well, it's controversial, isn't it?
I thought they would have... Oh, yeah. Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But he, for Marvel, created the following characters. I think it's worth... Well, he didn't create them, sorry. He's attributed as co-creating them. But, okay, so to get into this a little bit quickly, the Marvel method. You know what it is, Mick?
I do, but do you want me to pretend I don't, or pretend I do?
Yeah, pretend you... Well, no, pretend you do, and because I've spoken quite a bit.
Okay. So, you've heard of Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Stan
Lee.
That's the one.
True believers.
Exactly. Stan Lee, in the 60s, well, in the 40s to the 60s, was basically Marvel's only writer.
It's very lonely in this office.
Exactly. I put writer in air quotes there, because he teamed up with very, very, very notable artists. Probably the most notable are Jack Kirby.
And Sterling New Yorker.
And Steve Ditko.
Steve Ditko, who's also super famous.
Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
So, what Stan Lee would do is he would give the artists a very brief outline of a plot, and then they would actually go and plot it and draw the comic.
They'd do all of it.
They would do the whole thing and draw the comic. Then they would give it back to Stan, and Stan would write in some dialogue bubbles.
And slap his name on it.
And then take credit. That's the Marvel method.
This is very controversial, and Jack Kirby is notable for several reasons. First of all, the majority of character creation is attributed to his costume design and his appearance design, which would be largely him. Stan Lee gets an idea.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, wow, what a
name.
What a swell idea.
A man who's a spider.
Jack, whip that up for me there, Jack. And Jack would go off and he'd do that. And
shall I name some characters and then you tell us if they are Jack Kirby or not?
Sure.
Spider-Man.
Yes, the original cover.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not Steve Ditko.
The swinging cover, the famous cover where he's carrying something on his arm. Jack Kirby.
Oh. Thor.
Yes.
Deadpool.
No.
Oh, too recent.
Leafield.
Oh, no. Cable.
Nope. 90s, too recent.
The Fantastic Four.
Yes.
All of them.
All of them. Especially, notably, Ben Grimm, who is apparently an almost exact copy of Jack Kirby himself.
Ah, but if he was a rock man.
If he was a rock man.
Great.
And he does smoke cigars exactly like Jack Kirby and speaks exactly like Jack Kirby.
Ah.
In fact, Jack Kirby directly paralleled himself with Ben Grimm. He said, I am probably most like Ben Grimm.
That's very interesting.
Of all my creations.
The Xmen.
Yes.
Thor. I said that one already.
Yeah.
The Hulk.
Yes.
Captain America.
No.
But kind of.
Kind of. He created him for Timely Comics. And did a lot of the design work on the original.
The concept of punching Nazis.
Yes.
He invented that.
He did.
Good.
Nobody else in World War II thought to do it before he drew it in a comic. And that's how the Americans won the war.
Well, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
how are we going to beat these Nazis?
And then he went, you just sock him in the jaw. Look, I'll draw you a picture. And then all the soldiers in unison went, wow.
Great.
Wow, Nazi punch. Wow.
That was a good bit.
That's a neat idea.
That sounded funny, but I mean, I'm tired, so it might not have been.
I'm delirious at this point. Look, hugely influential creator. Also created hated TV series, Inhumans. He was the inspiration behind that. He created the Inhumans. He came up with the Eternals for Marvel. He came up with, look, Silver Surfer, Galactus, you name it, it's him.
Well, we literally just did that.
Yeah, exactly. We named it. Black Panther, coming up very, very soon. So, all the big names, Iron Man, all the big names that you know from Marvel have his hand in them. Okay, sorry.
Get it out of there, you creep.
Sorry. He had a hand in designing them.
Okay, that makes much more sense.
I should have put it that way. However, he rarely receives credit. Stan Lee is seen as the father of Marvel Comics, whereas really, in a bit of a Bob Kane, Bill Finger controversy, finger and hands in, we're all around, didn't get enough credit. In fact, left Marvel at one point due to being shafted by them so often. Went to DC, hoped things would get better. Spoiler, they didn't.
No.
Went back to Marvel and finished out his career. His longtime wife and partner died, and he died shortly after in 1994. Unfortunately, he died of a broken heart. They say. Yeah. So that's quite sad.
Did he die penniless?
He didn't die rich. There was a whole controversy in the 80s. Alan Moore
likes the controversy.
Loves an L controversy. Alan Moore and other noted creators of that era got together.
Frank Miller?
Frank Miller was one of those men.
Noted enemy of the podcast.
Noted enemy of the podcast. Mainly Ben, but of the podcast. Alan Moore loves an L rape. Alan loves an L rape more. Should have done it that way. They got together and basically before this kind of coalition got together.
Coalition of evil.
No, of general positivity and workers' rights, especially in the comic book industry. Before that, basically artists would come up with something and they would give that idea to the company. The company would pay them a one-time fee, and that would be the end of their rights. No merchandising, no original art given back, nothing like that. Any pages they did for the company were kept by the company. Yeah. Belonged to them.
Yeah, that's
so it was
standard.
Really cheap labour, for a significant body of work. This meant that artists had nowhere to go. They had to keep producing for these companies. They had to keep working non-stop.
What do you want, you communist?
Anyway.
That's capitalism then.
Shortly after that. That's not exactly capitalism.
It is
there
capitalism.
Are other forms of capitalism.
Work for hire.
Anyway.
Yeah, go on.
Artists' rights were in the shitter. I think there's a quote here from Jack Kirby himself.
I don't see why you need a quote when you have the quote, artists' rights were in the shitter.
Jack Kirby said himself, the artist is the lowest form of life on the ladder. Okay, which is a nice mashing of
How
two.
did he
lowest
say it,
rung on the ladder. That's it. The artist is the lowest
He
form.
didn't do a voice.
Oh, sorry. New York, so real New Yorker.
Yeah.
Real New Yorker.
Yancey
the artist
Street.
is the lowest form of life on the ladder.
That's not bad.
It's a little bit Stan Lee, but they were quite similar if you heard them.
Stan Lee's
if they had a podcast, people would have equal difficulty in distinguishing them as they do us. After that, he was allowed his pages back from Marvel. So he didn't die penniless after this coalition, and he was able to sell his pages. And artists got far more rights in general. Also essential in the founding of Image Comics.
Oh, I like an Image.
Image Comics are some of the best comics being written today, I think, if you're into independent, non-canonized.
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, well, he's there, but he doesn't really have much influence on the comics themselves anymore. It's mostly a Kirkman affair. It's a Kirkman affair.
It is actually, isn't it? I read that Hackslash issue.
Any good?
It's fine. It's fine.
Just fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
We'll see if it goes anywhere.
So, Mick,
Yes, Benjamin.
Why am I lauding this man? Why is he so significant?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's quite important. So, in terms of pure style,
Yes.
this
is now we're in my territory.
Yeah, this man
Pure
is a
style.
fascinating man. So he started out. Do you know how he got his reputation? He apprenticed for Fleischer cartoons.
Oh.
Yeah, he worked on Fleischer cartoons. That's how he learned his trade.
Oh.
He is almost completely self-taught.
Excellent.
Which is really, really interesting.
Is that why his heads don't look like heads?
It's why his heads don't look like heads. They're very...
Like cuboids.
Cuboids, yeah. He does everything broken down into basic shapes.
Oh, like you.
Yeah, quite like what I do in my sketchbook. If you, we'll just flip the page there. Yeah. So we start them out in shapes and we build them up. I'd say I build them up a little more than he did. He turned it into a very stylized form and it became synonymous with him. If you see a Kirby drawing, once you've seen one, you can spot it every time you see one.
What sort of thing would be?
So, very thick ink-based lines.
Right.
Kirby Crackle is his most distinctive feature. He was obsessed with the cosmic scale of things and with space and with mythology. And he would often marry those two things together. Kirby Crackle is how he would show cosmic energy. It is a series of black and white bubbles.
Do you want to hear a good bit of trivia?
Yeah.
I read this the other day. Apparently, in Jack Kirby's head, the new gods of Apocalypse were gigantic.
Really?
Gigantic. Like...
Lovecraftian.
Bigger than planets.
Wow.
That if we saw Darkseid's real size, that Earth would be the size of a golf ball. But travelling to Earth through the boom tube shrinks him. Or Superman travelling to Apocalypse through the boom tube expands him.
Wow.
So like Earth, you wouldn't even see Earth beside Apocalypse. I don't know if that's canon or not.
It's not canon because they've had Apocalypse come to Earth once twice.
Physically.
It's bigger, but it's not. It doesn't make golf ball size.
It would be amazing. No, golf ball size.
That'd be amazing.
Golf ball size compared to
Darkseid.
Darkseid, not the planet.
Shukra.
Isn't that's cool? I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You love an cosmic horror.
I like
you love
an
an incomprehensible human scale.
Yeah.
That's your thing. So yeah, the Kirby Crackle is how he shows energy. It's all over comics still today. It's all over comics today.
It's less common though. Even just in general, showing powers is less common now than it used to be.
Yeah, they're all subtle these days.
Or like in the past, if Magneto was doing a magnet, they would show him doing a magnet by putting a crackle around it.
Yeah, or purple.
Now they don't. Now they hope that the art is good enough to show it.
It's synonymous with the 60s. It really is the early age of comics.
People see it as old-fashioned, I think, now.
Yeah, but it's making a comeback. Are you a fan of Nick
Cave and the Bad Seeds?
They are a great band. Nick Erdington.
Never heard of him.
Okay, he does a really nice kind of old-fashioned style.
He sounds like a German beer.
Art. He is a little bit like that. And he is currently writing Mr. Miracle for DC, which is
scot-free.
enjoying. It's like a postmodern deconstruction of the New Gods. No, but it's not.
It is.
It's better than Morrison. It's better than Morrison. Because he's not going through going, that's a really interesting concept, but if you look at it this way, how crazy is that? Huh?
That's very good.
I'm blowing your mind.
What if Grant Morrison and Jack Kirby were to have a conversation? What would that sound like?
Aye, Jack, but if you look at it my way, Jack, if we go back and we take that apart, Jack, it's going to be amazing. Somebody get this fruit away from me. Something like that.
I liked how Ben interjected in the middle.
Something like that. It was pretty Something like that.
I have no idea where we were.
I don't know where we were either, damn it. Yeah, the Kirby Crackle. And before Jack Kirby, and what is most significant to his contribution to comic art, comics were very stiff.
Oh.
No, not stiffening. The characters were very statuesque.
Right.
When they moved, it was like a statue in pose. Because if you ever Learn to Draw the Marvel Way.
I did.
Yeah. Stan Lee teaches you the basics of any drawing. And Steve Ditko helps him to do that book. Stan Lee takes the credit for it.
Of course he does.
If you look at the cover,
classic
it's Stan Lee sitting at a drawing table, and everyone kind of went, "You don't draw the comics,
Yeah, you
Stan.
can't draw, Stan. What are you doing?"
So it's drawing comics the Stan Lee way. That's what the book is called.
Yeah,
it's the Marvel way.
It's the Stan Lee way is tricking someone else into doing it.
Yeah, and then taking credit for it.
Yeah, like how I'm going to write a new book called Editing Podcasts the Mick Leonard Way. And it's just tricking you into doing it.
I'll do it. No problem. What's this for again, Mick? Just keep writing.
Just keep doing it. You're the Jack Kirby of this podcast.
I'm the Kirby. I'm okay with that. And before this, they were all cylinders and boxes with very little movement.
Right.
They didn't know how to bring them to
Is
life.
that because they were drawing from images?
Yeah, no, they used reference quite a bit. But I think where Kirby came in, he had done his apprenticeship with Fleischer Cartoons.
So cartoons, animation.
And he learned the principles of movement for animation. And he kind of brought the idea of pushing the pose to comics. He forewent anatomical accuracy in favour of stretched, elongated poses that showed action.
Yeah, a fist popping out at you.
A fist popping out at you. Foreshortening was one of his occasional things. And he did this. And he really brought this kind of sense. Motion lines were him. So motion lines have been around in comics for a long time. You'd see the swing. But the idea of the same object in lighter lines, following others, things like that. Daredevil, it uses it a lot, where you see him move around a scene. One panel, him in lighter
lots
colours.
Of different Daredevils.
That's him. He brought that into comics. He brought it in with Thor. When Thor swings his hammer, you see multiple shots of the hammer.
Yeah. Rest in peace,
that's
Hammer.
Him. Rest in peace, R.I.P. Hammer. Sounds like you had a very deep and intimate relationship with his hammer, akin to that of a loved one.
It's getting there. I don't think that's ridiculous enough. I think that's
like a normal
New Zealander.
I don't want to insult New Zealanders. They make up one of our podcast listenership.
Yeah.
And
someone from Bahrain.
Bahrain.
Yeah. We have some Bahraini listeners.
Definitely someone that we've...
Probably.
Yeah. He brought that whole exaggeration, and he has this really thick ink line that he uses. So his cuboid style, while it does seem a bit ridiculous, it works really well in comics. It brings comics really into the fore. It makes them very dynamic when he draws them. And the other thing that makes him so significant, he had a massive output when it came to drawing comics.
Right.
The average comic book artist today manages maybe, if they're really pushing themselves, 22 pages in a month.
Lazy.
They make their thing. He, apparently, this is apocryphal, but apparently at his peak, he was managing 75 pages a month.
Wow.
Of output. He drew a massive amount for Marvel Comics.
And a lot of it was very complicated.
A lot of it was complicated. Like he did not shy away.
An old complicated spaceship.
But apparently what he did was he would just sit in a room and he would work from dawn to dusk. He would just start putting pages out. He would do roughs. He would line inks. He did the whole process. And apparently,
go on.
Sometimes he did the lettering. So Stan Lee didn't even do that.
Stan Lee, he's a real bad bloke, isn't he?
Well, you can't say that. Like you're going to get us taken off.
Yeah.
Disney's going to.
That's true, actually.
Because he's
a real good bloke.
He's not. He's apocryphal. He is the embodiment of Marvel, and he's the cute old man that Marvel trot out on stage, and he can't really do it anymore. But it's okay because he's made his millions. And Jack's dead.
What are some of his most famous, let's say, images or panels or?
So he does splash pages very well.
I think he invented them.
I think that kind of when it wasn't big enough, he's just like, I'll just do it over two.
Yeah.
One of his most famous images, he wrote the original Thor. He created the original Thor. As I said, he was obsessed with mythology and really liked to bring it into comics. So Stan Lee says, I like to know mythology, but Jack Kirby was obsessed with mythology. Everything he does has a mythological basis in some form. In
the first issue of New Gods, don't we learn that they are the new gods because the previous gods have undergone Ragnarok?
Yeah. They suffered through their...
And we see a Thor and a Hercules and And
they all die.
Yeah. I think that's good. I like that.
He did that. He took the things that he loved very much and he gave himself space to do it himself. And I think DC was so happy to get him that they were just like, yeah, Jack, you do you.
Why is it then that these are relatively unknown?
The New Gods?
Yeah.
The New Gods are relatively unknown to mass culture.
Yeah.
I think in DC they're probably some of the most well-known characters in canon. They shape the significant events of almost every... Darkseid, I think, is probably one of the most well-known villains.
You think so? We should do one of these Vox Pops.
We definitely have to do one. We'll put one on. I know we say this every week, but I will definitely put one up in the Instagram.
Good.
Who do you know more?
And the problem with that is you're speaking to the choir. We want to get people on the street and ask them
we'll do a Vox Pop at some
name
point.
5 Superman villains.
We'll try that.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll do a video maybe.
Yeah.
We'll do a video?
Yeah, we'll do a video.
Get a video going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When some colour comes back to my skin, though.
Yeah, when you don't look like Death Wonder. Yeah, sure. Or a Denizen of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
they're very run down and
I feel like a parademon.
Yeah, you don't look like one. You're jacked like one, though.
Thanks, Ben.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I suppose they're very niche.
Mm-hmm.
They're a very odd concept, and they're hard to get behind because he just went off and created his own mythology.
Yeah. Did he also do the Deviants and the Externals?
He did the Eternals.
Eternals.
The Eternals. He did that when he came back to Marvel.
Because that was basically
So,
another go of it.
He moved to DC in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he came back to them in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't last that long at DC. And when he came back, he had to leave. Oh, sorry. Part of the reason that he came back to Marvel is that he wanted the New Gods to end.
Ah, yeah.
There's a famous run that he was planning to do called the Hunger Dogs.
Right.
Where Darkseid and Highfall and all that ended each other.
Oh.
It finished.
A new Ragnarok.
It finished. He wanted an encapsulated mythology. He wanted his mythology. This was Jack Kirby's magnum opus.
Right.
And it's recognised as such because his art is cleaner than it's ever been. It's stronger than it's ever been. Like, this is him in his prime of life when he's drawn 75 comics or 75 pages a month, full whack. This is him at his peak. And
Peak Kirby.
Peak Kirby, which is something to look at. Like, it's really impressive. There's going to be a lot of great images in this week's video because if you search anything Kirby, say what you want about them, they're not realistic representations, but they are great comic art. They're really graphic. They're really gripping. Like, he's really done a lot for the medium.
Where might a Norm have seen some Jack Kirby type stuff?
Well, the quickest example I can think of, anything you see in Thor Ragnarok on Sakaar,
right,
is Kirby.
What about Asgard?
Asgard is they toned it down. They made it sleeker.
Okay.
He liked big technological paradises.
Right.
They were his thing.
Okay.
I mean, if you have examples, I'd love to hear them. I don't.
Were the guards in Thor? Were they?
Yeah,
were they
they're
Kirby?
all Eternals or Celestials, depending on.
I think they were just lads in armor.
Yeah, no, but they're not. They're not actual. Sorry, I should be very clear. They're not actual Celestials in Thor Ragnarok. They're lads in armor. But those are the original designs of Celestials in the '60s comics.
And we've seen two Celestials in the comics, in the movies, haven't we?
We've seen Ego.
Oh, Ego's a Celestial now.
Ego's a Celestial now.
And we saw the one who destroyed the planet in Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember, he put the Power Stone in the big staff and went brrrr, and the planet exploded.
Ronan.
No, the flashback. Where Star-Lord said, I think a little pea just came out.
And then the head. The head is nowhere. A Celestial. Yeah.
But none of those looked as Jack Kirby as the Sicarian guards.
Yeah, the Sicarian guards are direct because Taika Waititi is hugely influenced by Jack Kirby. He really likes that kind of kitsch 60s stuff. If you go and look at his Instagram, he has a picture of an exact replica of a Jack Kirby drawing helmet. He created one himself, not unlike you do when you cosplay. He made one for himself, and he is very proud of it. He wears it on occasion.
I like Taika Waititi.
He's an amazing man.
So, other places. So, this isn't... Well, okay, what will we... Look, I've talked about this before. The video game Freedom Force.
Yes.
It's not Jack Kirby in any way.
But it's heavily...
It's Jack Kirby, the video game. Basically, even the poses for the characters on the front of the box. I don't remember when games had boxes. The poses for the characters on the front of the box are. It's almost a bit of a rip-off, really.
Yeah, they're stolen. Yeah.
They're almost. What do they call it in the comic world when someone does that? They're swipes.
Swipes. Yeah.
They're almost swipes.
Yeah.
Minuteman, the Captain America analog, is in a very famous.
The striding Captain America pose.
Yeah, sticking a fist forward.
1 foot forward, yeah.
1 foot and 1 fist forward. Nice cuboid head.
There's the insect guy there in the back is Hulk.
Yeah, there's an Iron Man. This flaming guy here, El Diablo, is in a Johnny Storm pose.
Yeah.
The Alchemist is in a Scarlet Witch pose.
Yeah, the Ant-Man there is an Ant-Man in the...
Or a Spider-Man. They're a very Jack Kirby-esque thing. Yeah. But it is... I think, and this was kind of my first exposure to Jack Kirby, was this game.
Oh, really?
Because when I played that game, how old was I? About 15 maybe? 14?
Wow.
I tried to draw like that for a while.
Yeah,
and for a while I thought I was drawing in the Freedom Force style.
Until you were drawing until someone said no.
There wasn't as much internet then. And then I discovered, actually, I'm trying to draw in the Jack Kirby style. Not very well.
But I think a lot of people ended up being influenced by him heavily. Like Darwin Cook, R.I.P.
Is Darwin Cook dead?
Yeah, he died.
Oh no, cancer. Cancer's a real bitch.
Cancer
isn't
got
it?
him. Yeah.
Darwin Cook and Catwoman.
Catwoman. The Spirit. He rewrote The Spirit for a while when DC was redoing The Spirit. New Frontier, which is probably what he's most famous for.
That's
his magnum opus. Good, solid, like nice golden age nostalgia. But he has very clean lines and very cuboid things because it's synonymous with that era.
Yeah,
that's his style.
I have another one who,
the
person I'm going to say isn't really. He's not a Jack Kirby imitator.
Okay.
By any stretch of the imagination, but in many ways he's reminiscent of Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess?
Is it Ed?
No. Ed Brubaker?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I was going to say Mike Allred.
Oh, yeah, the French guy.
Is he French? No, he's American.
He's Canadian.
No, he's a Mormon.
No,
he's a Mormon from Utah.
Did he do Mad Men?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad Men.
I thought he was French.
No, he's not French. Mike Allred and his wife Laura Allred.
Yeah, she does his colouring. Is she
inking? Colouring?
Oh, inking. She's one of those. Yeah, she's one of those.
She's his assistant, essentially.
Yeah, that's...
Take that, Inkers.
I didn't say that.
That was an attack on Inkers, not women.
I didn't say that. I think, well, that's not how it's going to be taken.
Yeah, well, look, it doesn't matter.
It's rare for you to put a foot wrong when it comes to sexism.
I'm very tired. But Mike Allred is a great example because he has the clean lines.
He does.
He's very cosmic.
He loves an old cosmic conundrum.
He doesn't, like, his art doesn't look like Jack Kirby's art. You're never going to say, oh, is that Jack Kirby?
Yeah, it's significant. I think, oddly, coming to the point that you make, he doesn't push the pose in the same... There's not the same dynamic kind of energy to Allred that there is to Kirby.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's as good as Kirby.
No.
But he has his style. He stuck with his style for years. It's working for him. It's very pop art, simple.
Yeah. I don't actually like it.
Don't you? You like Kirby, but you don't like Allred. That's interesting.
Maybe it's exactly what you're saying. Maybe I associated too much with Kirby and I think it's a weird knockoff of Kirby, like the made in Taiwan version of Kirby.
What's wrong with Taiwan?
Nothing like that. You know exactly
man.
What I mean when I say made in Taiwan, but you son of a gun. Do you notice the way my cursing has gone decidedly 50s?
Yeah, you've gone all 50s. It's the Jack Kirby.
I'm also trying not to have such a potty mouth because I know it upsets both you and some of the listeners. What
was I going to say? Another thing about Mike Allred. Excuse me for a second while I shove down some vomit. Oh, no. Another thing about Mike Allred is I've been a Mike Allred reader for a long time, and when he does, he seems to enjoy most his own creations, but when he does do establish characters in a universe, it almost feels a little bit out of continuity.
Wow.
Which you could say was Jack Kirby's thing as well. Because he wanted New Gods to be
his own thing.
New
Gods were his own
separate.
Thing. The fourth world is what he called it.
If you have a read of Mike Allred's Mike Allred just drew it. What was it, Milligan? Peter Milligan? X-Force.
Okay.
From the early 2000s. It's set in the Marvel Universe. Some of the characters have gone on to join the mainstream, but it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't fit, it just doesn't feel like they wanted it to be part of the mainstream universe. Yeah. And he's doing a pretty good Silver Surfer at the moment.
Oh.
Which for some reason people don't seem to know about. But it's pretty good. It's a little kind of cosmic space adventure.
Nice.
Almost existing away from everything else.
Nice.
But yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Anything else we wanted to talk about? Recommendations for if you want to see some
yeah, well, first of all, his not autobiography, but the biography that was written by him in, I think, nearly 2000. Just look, Jack Kirby, King of Comics.
Okay,
is what it's called. It's great. It has, first of all, it has a lot of analysis of his life and stuff. He had a fascinating life. He worked for the military.
Punching Nazis?
No, he didn't punch Nazis. But what he did was he infiltrated villages and drew detailed maps, because he was very talented.
He showed people where to punch Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. Which was a really dangerous job at the time. Survived all that, came back to New York, blah, blah, blah. Did all that. He also just had a fascinating life, one way or the other. But they also have huge spreads of his original art.
What's it called?
In the comic. Jack Kirby, King of Comics.
Cool.
By a guy called Mike Evanier, I think, is IE or at the end of his name there. Really, really good. Check out his New Gods run, his original 1971 New Gods run. It is a fascinating look at not only comic book art, but 1971 pop art, like 70s pop art. He's quite formative in that regard. And then if you want to see some more up-to-date Kirby-esque stuff, check out Doom Patrol, that's currently been put out by DC, or check out the Mr. Miracle relaunch that has come from DC.
Another thing you can check out if you're interested is go and track down the Superman animated series season 2, episode 25 and 26.
Nice.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
I am Apocalypse. With Michael Ironside as the voice of
Michael
Darkseid.
Ironside? Noted Decepticon, Michael Ironside. Was he not a Decepticon?
No.
Noted Autobot?
Bald Man.
But Ironside does a voice for one of the Autobots in the Transformers film.
One of the Autobots. This guy here, his name is Ironhide.
Oh, that's fair.
But he's not voiced by Michael Ironside.
No, someone is, no?
No, not in Transformers.
Okay.
Michael Ironside is the bald guy who dies all the time.
Oh, yeah!
You know him?
Yeah.
Jim was him for Halloween.
Oh,
2
no,
years
that's
ago.
excellent.
Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, alright, fair enough. Anyone else you think gets a rough old rundown from the comic companies?
Bill Finger.
Anyone else you'd like us to draw attention to? Do let us know. And remember, do not just hand over your artwork when you're signing to a big company.